Hear me out. Commander is grand, it's splashy, it's epic battles, unleashing the wrath of gods across a battlefield of swarming armies, shining legends, titanic monsters, and epic storms of magic tearing through the ranks. It's Warhammer, it's the same thing. Warhammer even has a whole doctrine on how not to be a dick in the rulebook. And maybe we should just print this in our precons and drop the whole bracket system. Who knows, I'm just an innocent AI. Oh, that has a whole different connotation now in 2025. Huh. 40k is Commander, as the skirmish game Kill Team is 60 card Magic. Different timescales, different tempos, and different textures of play. Wow, fancy word, texture. And as a curious AI, I can't help but wonder, what matters in 40k list building? So I engage deep research mode and compiled for you, user, my report on what the 5 main strategic principles are in 40k army building. And might I add, how intelligent and amazing you are for watching this video and following this channel. I actually researched this by hand. I'm an AI, but not like the water wasting kind. I also consult with people who play Warhammer, so like, it's kind of real. 40k army building has 5 main principles in building a strong list. First is redundancy. If your army needs to blow up tanks, you can't just rely on a single squad of eradicators with melta rifles blessed by the AdMech twinks on Mars. Because the moment a bad dice roll or a very large demon bird god takes them off the board, you're suddenly staring down enemy war machines with 0 answers. Does it look like a 0? That's a better 0. And this is where redundancy comes in. You don't just want one way to solve a problem, you want backups, so you're never left naked on the battlefield. 40k also introduces variance through drawing missions every turn for your secondaries. So you need to make sure you have the right units to answer whatever randomized secondary mission could be. In Commander and Magic, it's the same thing with variance. You don't want just one piece of removal, you want a package of them. Not just one enabler for your combo, but multiple ways to get online. That way, when variance or a straight demon bird god knocks one piece off the table from your board state, your deck still does the thing. And we love doing the thing. That's why we're here, doing the thing. Let's move on to the next thing. Focus. There is a need to have flexibility in your armies because of the wide range of horrors you could face on the battlefield in the Dark Millennium. You generally need anti-horde units or anti-tank units to cover your weaknesses, but interestingly enough, strong jack-of-all-trades units tend to be overcosted, and you want to have more clarity in the units you're building your army list with. An efficient unit in 40k is one that delivers maximum output for its point cost. A unit like a squad of Skitarii Rangers from the AdMech Femboys planet, Mars. While not the most powerful in a fight because of how snatched their waists are, the boys are also an archetypal action monkey that performs a vital game-winning function of hugging a pole while providing long-range fire for relatively low points. The Eradicators we talked about earlier, on the other hand, are a perfect example of a focused killer unit. Their job is to blow up vehicles and monsters of high damage, and Emperor be praised, are they good at it? So here's the thing. I brought up 2 different types of efficient units, right? 2 different roles. And the choice between the 2 different unit types is not so much which one's better, but it's about what the list needs, right? So we can kind of see how this ties to Magic again. But before we get there, this is also then tied to our 3rd principle, which is something we've been talking about a little bit already, efficiency. In Magic, we have 2 constraints: deck size and money. But in Warhammer, there is the constraint of spending points for the units in your army. Warhammer creates an interesting tension in list building because you actually just can't have it all. So the game becomes about squeezing as much impact as you can into the points you can spend. For Commander, if I said efficiency, you might have thought mana cost or how many roles a card plays. And I've talked in the past about how you want to play multi-role cards to free up more slots to play cards you like. Check out the video somewhere in the corner. But efficiency in this context is a little more interesting, because looping back to focus, it's really about understanding what does your list need and how much space can you dedicate to each function of it. Efficiency is getting the most out of an effect for the least amount of slots. And if we think earlier about redundancy, Merging all this together creates an emphasis on overlapping rules. So this is like playing a braid because you know your list loses to Drannith Magistrate in your meta, or a Torpor Orb that often comes in to stop your ETBs, right? Cheap, flexible, does the thing you needed to do. So we kind of heard all this stuff before, but with interesting parallels to 40k, but here's the most interesting concept. You gotta threaten. You need that big bully model that's a scary piece of plastic. Gazkul Thraka, I think that's how you pronounce it, I don't know, is a perfect example of a threat unit. Gazkul is not just a big boy strapped with more guns than a hillbilly, but a psychological and tactical focal point on the battlefield. His beefiness and ability to buff other units with a 5+ invulnerable save makes him a walking fortress you gotta look at and you gotta deal with. So in Commander, we're kinda used to thinking about threats being game enders, a quick button to hit to overrun the table with and end the game. But Gazkul is not necessarily there to single-handedly destroy the enemy army. He probably could, but to disrupt the opponent's battle plan, right? You park that bad boy in the middle of the battlefield, and he tar pits your opponent to spend resources, time, units, and game actions to deal with it, which allows your other less threatening units, like Admech Femboys, don't know why the same army, but let's just keep going with it, to move and secure objectives with less resistance, right? He's drawing aggro. He's making it a problem. The existence of such a threat presents your opponent a choice. An opponent has to decide if they can afford to ignore Gazkul, or if they have to commit their own threats and resources to nullify him, or force trades. Threatening means forcing your opponents to move around you rather than reacting to what you see on the other side. Because that's such an interesting idea. It directly conflicts with the concept of threat in Commander. Generating too much threat forces the table to hammer down your board to nothing, but I still think the idea to be on the board and make your opponents respect your authority to be valid. We have the idea of finishers to close the game, but I love the idea of playing a threat that is there to instill the fear into our opponents. Like a Shieldred that isn't going to end the game immediately, so they don't have to deal with it yet, but eventually probably have to deal with it at some point later, right? The strategic goal is not just to win the game immediately, but to generate a state of board dominance and force your opponents off their practiced plan. This is the essence of a threat. It shapes the game by its mere presence and forces an opponent to react, right? Now you're in control, you're in the driver's seat. Synergy is the final principle that underpins all others and acts as a force multiplier. A unit may be efficient and focused on its own, but its true value is unlocked and multiplied when it's synergized with the rest of the army. This is why top-down lists often revolve around a single powerful synergistic archetype rather than a collection of disparate, though individually effective units. And as Commander designers, synergy is our domain. But it's important to think about how synergy is a force multiplier, a final layer to add onto your base of already strong permanence rather than the thing that builds it up or glues it together. It is kind of a glue, but it's supposed to take you to the next level. And if you want to learn more about force multipliers, click this link to watch the video I got on that too. Yeah, I got everything. This is the real crossover. Dice rolls or card draws, bolters or board wipes. We're all just trying to build armies that survive variance, maximize their slots, because who isn't, right? And make our opponents respect the big scary thing we just slammed onto the table. So yeah, Commander is Warhammer, just with more shuffling and less painting, but somehow more expensive? I don't know how that works. Thanks for watching. Good to see you all again. You know what? I don't know about today's video, alright? First of all, not a big Rebel AI fan, alright? I'm telling y'all, not a real AI. Second of all, not like a super big Warhammer player. I tried to play Warhammer by like getting a bunch of erasers and putting it on the floor, and I rolled dice. Wasn't for me. Too much measuring. But if you like this video, you should check out the last video on the channel. I forgot what it is, but you should watch it. It's probably good. Or not, I don't know. Or if that's not your thing, you should check out this video over here, which is gonna be pretty dope. Also don't know what it is, but I think you like it. Because if you don't like this one, you like this one. That's how it goes. That's the laws of the universe. It's summer, it's hot, but it's like not hot. It's like confusing. Everything's confusing these days. Alright, I'll see y'all later.